A break, glad you're still watching Science Breakfast with me, Alan Habit, and the sign language interpreter is Chebi Water. You are in time for our conversation about the upcoming World Federation of the Deaf pre-conference, and it is going to be hosted by FEDWEN. To have this conversation with us this morning is our guest Aska Josephine. She is the Executive Director of FEDWEN Kenya. Now, today it is a rather special conversation, and Aska is going to be speaking to us through sign language, and we're going to be having a voicer, and the voicer is Pamela Wango. Without further ado, Madam Aska, good morning and welcome to studio. And how do you feel this morning?
Good morning, Alan. Good morning, everyone. I'm feeling very good. And thank you for hosting me also. And I will repeat my name also. My name is Aska Josephine, and this is my sign name. And why am I talking about this sign name? Because we are all aware that deaf people have a sign name, so that people who are close to them can interact with them easily and can call them easier. So we give each other sign names as the deaf community because we use visual modes of communication. So my sign name is Aska. When you see me, you know that this is my sign name. Maybe Alex can have this sign name and another person will have a different sign name. So it helps us to identify each other easier. Thank you.
Amazing. And I remember last time we were here in studio and I was doing a video with one of our colleagues called Edna, and I had a bit of trouble to do my sign name, and I think to do this conversation honors, I will close it with my sign name as well, or I will close it with sign language. But anyway, welcome to studio, and let's start with the name FEDWEN. What does the name FEDWEN mean?
So FEDWEN is an acronym for Federation of Deaf Women Empowerment Network, Kenya. Yeah. All
right, and why did you decide to start FEDWEN, and why particularly a federation for deaf women?
Okay, so before FEDWEN was formed, I was the regional coordinator for the Kenya National Association of the Deaf, and my mandate was to coordinate 5 regions: Nairobi, the Rift Valley region, Eastern Kenya, Northeastern and Southeastern, and as well as Central Kenya. So yes, it was a very big mandate. And at that time, deaf women, we were not visible because we were just beginning the disability movement at that time. And we wanted to have a strategy where we would be seen, we would be heard, and we were not seen. In policy, in practice, we were not there. And we would experience a lot of violence as deaf women. And even in the general disability movement, deaf women were not very visible. Many times we would experience violence at home or even in different areas in society, but we did not have a platform where we could articulate our issues. So I wanted to see how I could add this to my mandate at the Kenya National Association of the Deaf, but I observed that those who were around me were all men. Maybe if we could report a problem in their relationships or intimate partner violence that they were experiencing at home, or maybe even issues of sexual violence, they would come to me to report these issues. But I realized that, you know, men will always be men, as we like to say in society. And when it was a situation where a deaf man was violating a deaf woman, they felt that was a sensitive issue. It was an issue that could be handled within the deaf community, so they did not want to take it up with the police. They did not want to take it up further. If it was a hearing person who had done this, they encouraged me to take action. But if it was a deaf man, they wanted me to keep quiet. They did not want it to be an issue. So I felt that we needed to access justice equally, whether it was the violator being a deaf man, not that some issues we would act on and some issues we would not act on. I was just a small person in that organization, and when I took my stand and I vocalized my issues, they did not support me. They felt I was being political. So we had been doing a project at that time with the Swedish government that was supporting that. So after that project ended, I decided to form a platform of my own where we could amplify the voices of deaf women without barriers. And that's how FEDWIN was born.
That is absolutely an amazing story. Talk about an organization starting because there is a real need in the community. But for those who are interacting with you and FEDWIN for the very first time, and probably they might not really consider and take into cognizance the challenges that women who are deaf or deaf women go through on a daily basis. Paint a picture for us. How does life look like for a deaf woman? And this I don't ask because there is any difference, but paint a picture for those who are watching and they seemingly do not get the point. Because as you've said, people around you might say, Asker was just trying to be political, so that's why they decided to start their own organization. But why is this really important?
Okay, the life of a deaf woman. It's very difficult for us to be seen. Let me start from the household where we are born in. From the household where we are born as children, you find that we don't access information. For a child to develop, it means that they need to get information right from the household, because when you're a child, first you communicate with your family. So we don't achieve that, we don't get information, we don't access communication. So when we are growing up, I don't understand myself as a girl, I don't understand myself as a woman, until maybe I join school, and many times we find deaf people join school when they are over the age of 7 years old. So between the age of 0 and 7, they have not been able to access any information. And also after you have joined school, the family does not really feel like you have value. You know, previously the girl child, people would say, oh, the risks of life, they need to be sheltered, they need to be protected. So you would find that the girl child, particularly a deaf girl, will grow up without any exposure. And the teacher or the school is not responsible to teach you everything. They will only give you what is in the curriculum. So you grow up, you don't know about yourself, you don't know about the changes that you anticipate to have in your body. And also we are human, we want love, we want to associate with people in society, even when we are growing up. So many times, like right now in this generation, we have a lot of availability of information on the internet. So we find that many times deaf people, particularly deaf women, are curious, and they might find themselves engaged in things that they may not know whether they are good or they are bad, and then what are the consequences of those actions that they will take, which makes them vulnerable to manipulation, to coercion, and they are easily misused, both at home and even outside the household. At home, you will find that they are delegated with this unpaid pair work. You will be the house help of that family. You will be, when people are having a discussion, you don't have a voice. You want to be loved, but in that family, you are the servant. You're the one who is doing everything in that household without even being appreciated. And in the outside environment, as you are growing up, you want to experience what you see other people experiencing. What are other youth doing? You want to do that also. And many times, it makes you even more vulnerable, because deaf men and deaf women can be together. They can marry because they're curious, you know, and even deaf men sometimes may be curious about, I want a woman who has no disability. So we find that this creates a challenge. And in the household environment, for example, you will see that people will say, you're a deaf woman, you're a deaf girl, you're not sexually active, you're just deaf, everything about you is deaf. Even when you have children in the future, they don't think you will have children in the future. So you're fighting for that space to be seen, for people to understand you, to be treated like others who are maybe even part of your family. So that is the experience we have as a girl child, as a deaf girl child. And many times we don't understand who we are. You can be abused. I've seen situations where deaf girls are abused, or they are in a relationship and they become pregnant, and they're not even aware that they're pregnant because they have no information. They have not had that space to learn. And when you tell them, oh, you know, these symptoms, this and that means that you're pregnant and you will have a child. And that is the time they're discovering this, and they're very shocked. And then it happens that you have a child when you're still at home, they see you as a burden. that you have brought a child and you are not able to care for that child, and even in the relationship that maybe you are in, an intimate partner relationship, then you will find the other family of your partner are not ready to accept you. So you're always struggling for space. You're always struggling to be seen, to be recognized, to be respected, to be accepted. Everywhere that you are living, you are struggling for space. So it makes us, I can say, have some anger issues, quote unquote, because you are always, you have to be stubborn.
Yeah.
You always want to be understood, and that is not given to you easily. You want to be recognized, and that is not available for you. So when you become a deaf mother, or you have your own children, you will find that your children can be bullied because your parent cannot talk. They feel your parent cannot speak up for you. So your children can be abused. You try to keep up with that. You try to make your child understand you and understand your situation. You try to protect your children also from being misused by society, but many times they don't know what to do even as their child, because they are the middle person, they're the middleman between the society and their parent as a hearing child. They try so much to fit in. So there are a lot of challenges that deaf women experienced, especially in our society, and mostly, for example, in Africa. We are trying so much to survive in an environment which many times does not support us and is not friendly to us. And when you succeed, they say, hey, wow, you're so clever. You are deaf, but you're so clever. Yeah. So this word, clever, I don't like it, because it means that I am better than all the other deaf people. It means that I am the only one who is special in the deaf community, yet we have these challenges that affect us differently and impact us differently in life. It doesn't mean I'm clever. It means that I have had a support system that has helped me to overcome my challenges that other people may not have had. So honestly, if you're married as a deaf woman, you know, and you're financially stable, then your life will be somehow better. But if you're not financially stable, you will suffer. And when you have money, let me just be honest without hiding, then you will be the one who will be responsible for your household duties, because your partner may feel, I'm doing you a favor. I'm doing you a favor by being with you. Both your in-laws, both your husband, they will perceive you in that way, that you're financially stable, now do everything. But if you're married to a deaf man like you, then the parents of the deaf man will feel, no, why is my son marrying a woman who is deaf? But their son is also deaf.
Yeah.
So those are the challenges that we are trying to live with.
I'm reading 1,000,001 intersections when it comes to being a deaf woman, and of course that is just the tip of the iceberg. You might not even be able to talk about all the scenarios regarding the challenges that women who are deaf go through on a daily. But based off of what you have said, then what are some of the interventions that FEDWIN has in place to offer services, to offer respite care, to offer guidance to the women that you work with? Which are some of the programs that you are implementing as FEDWIN?
So FEDWIN works on several issues. First of all, health. Particularly on issues of sexual and reproductive health of deaf women and girls. We also work in gender-based violence and economic empowerment, and also teaching them about governance. But currently, mostly we work on issues of sexual reproductive health and rights for adolescents particularly, and gender-based violence. This is where most of our programs are aligned. This is because sexual reproductive health rights and gender-based violence are the issues that affect deaf women most. We work with adolescents and young people, that is between the ages of 13 to 25. And why do we decide to focus on this age group? Because we realize that if you want your child to grow and understand these things, then you need to empower them while they're still young. You need to give them the information before these consequences have found them, so that they can make informed choices, they can have agency over their lives. So we are working currently with 6 schools for the deaf, where we have trained teachers to provide comprehensive sexuality education in sign language, because that is the most accessible language for us. We have clubs in schools called iKid clubs. iKid means I know, I decide. which means that when they have the information, when they know, then you can empower them to make their own decisions about their lives. So through these clubs, we mentor young deaf adolescents to be future leaders, to understand themselves, and even to do leadership. So through these mentorship programs, we can empower them, and even the youth out of school, those above the ages of 18, maybe to 25, we also empower them and teach them with some basic skills that can help them to get some income. That is income generation activities. We have taught them beadwork. We have taught them different skills that will help them to, avoid being sex workers very early in life, because some of them are not even 20 years old, and after school, maybe they have a child or they have no income. They're trying to look for something to do. And many of the times we find them vulnerable to becoming sex workers. So we are trying to avoid that. We want them to have a good life where they can have an income in a good way and where they can even maintain their dignity. So those are some of the programs we do.
Amazing work. And I want us to put a stick into that and go for a short break. When we come back, we're now going to be extrapolating the conversation to the World Federation of Deaf conference that is going to be happening in Nairobi. What is it about? And then we'll also be talking about the conference, the pre-conference that FEDWIN is hosting in Nairobi as well. Dear viewer, I hope you are getting to clearly understand what it means to be a deaf woman this morning. The intersections, the intersectionalities are quite many, and if you might be watching and you might know a deaf girl around your community, later on in the show I'll be asking Aska in how you could get in touch with FEDWIN, because I believe every girl deserves a right to become to become full to the fullest of who they want to be. We're going to take